Alys Rivers may be the most powerful person in Fire and Blood whom history cannot even describe with confidence. Grandmaster Munkun and Septon Eustace call her the bastard daughter of Lord Lionel Strong. One makes her a serving woman who dabbled in potions. The other calls her a woods witch. Mushroom pushes her into something far stranger. He says she belonged to an older generation, nursed Harwin and Larys Strong, and may even have nursed Lionel himself. That matters because Alys had to be at least 40 when the Dance of the Dragons began, yet everyone agreed that she looked much younger. Mushroom explains this with the lurid claim that she bathed in maiden's blood. But Fire and Blood repeatedly gives famous women the same accusation, from Shira Seastar to Daenerys. It is often what Westeros says when a woman's beauty, age, or power cannot be controlled. The harder detail is her fertility. Alys reportedly delivered several stillborn children, then served as wet nurse to other families. Years later, she produced the one child who could have changed the Targaryen succession. So before the dragons even reach Harrenhal, Alys is already surrounded by 3 recurring themes: uncertain age, knowledge dismissed as superstition, and motherhood turning into political power. Hello everyone, and welcome to Storyteller's Codex. Here we delve deep into the rich lore of the Lord of the Rings, a song of ice and fire, and the vast worlds beyond. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alys also lived in the one castle where her powers make geographical sense. Harrenhal stands beside the God's Eye, directly across from the Isle of Faces, the sacred place where the first men and children of the forest made the pact. Every weirwood on that island was carved with a face, and the green men were created to guard them. The Andals never conquered the island. Even centuries later, unwanted visitors were supposedly driven away by sudden storms and flocks of ravens. Inside Harrenhal is a 20-acre godswood with its own heart tree. Its carved face looks furious. During the dance, Daemon cut 13 marks into it, and legend says those wounds still bleed every spring. This is not proof that Alys used the weirwood network. Fire and Blood never places her hand on the tree and calls her a greenseer, but the setting is too specific to ignore. The children could see through weirwoods, enter animals, communicate through ravens, and receive visions that did not obey ordinary time. Alys sees the future in fire, water, and storm clouds. She's found alone in the Godswood at a crucial moment. Her power becomes strongest at Harrenhal, while the green men and perhaps surviving children remain just across the lake. The books leave those pieces separate. House of the Dragon deliberately joins them. When the dance begins, Daemon Targaryen takes Harrenhal for Rhaenyra without a battle. Caraxes lands on Kingspire Tower, Sir Simon Strong yields, and Alys survives the occupation. That is almost all the book tells us about Alys and Daemon at this stage. They do not share the long supernatural storyline created for television. That silence is useful. It shows how Fire and Blood works. The history notices armies, dragon riders, castles, and noble deaths. A serving woman becomes visible only when a prince chooses her. A prophecy changes a campaign, or royal soldiers begin dying around her. Alys may have been observing Daemon for months. She may have been healing the castle, gathering information, or doing absolutely nothing supernatural. The chroniclers did not care enough to record it. Harrenhal, meanwhile, becomes the hinge of the entire Riverlands War. Whoever holds it threatens the roads between north, south, east, and west, but the castle is too enormous to defend properly. Daemon eventually abandons it to seize King's Landing. That creates the opening for Aemond and Criston Cole to march north. The war believes it is changing masters at Harrenhal. In reality, it is about to place the most violent dragon rider alive beside the one person who may already know exactly how he dies. Aemond retakes Harrenhal after Daemon has already left. Furious that Sir Simon surrendered the castle, he executes the remaining Strongs, Trueborn and Baseborn. Only Alys is spared. Fire and Blood says Aemond took her as a spoil of war and made her his bedmate. That language matters. Whatever affection developed later, their relationship begins inside a massacre, with Aemond holding all visible power. Then the balance starts to change. When a squire brings news of the green defeat at the battle by the lakeshore, Aemond tries to strangle him. Alys stops him. The prince who has just exterminated her family listens. Aemond also trusts her visions. He says she can see events in storm clouds, mountain pools at dusk, and cooking fires. That range is important. Melisandre needs flame, and Greenseers use trees and green dreams. Alys appears able to read several surfaces, suggesting either multiple traditions or one gift that maesters have divided into separate categories. Mushroom says she also tempted Criston Cole with love potions, although Eustace rejects it. There is no solid evidence that she enchanted either man. But by the time Aemond begins burning the Riverlands from Vhagar's back, Alys is no longer merely the woman he spared. She is the advisor who can restrain him, direct him, and perhaps see the ending he cannot escape. Criston Cole eventually marches south, while Aemond refuses to join him and turns Vhagar loose on the Riverlands. With Harrenhal undefended, Lady Sabetha Frey takes the castle and finds Alys alone, naked in the Godswood and visibly pregnant. This is one of the strangest deliberate images in the history. A woman associated with repeated stillbirth stands before an angry weirwood, carrying the blood of the largest living dragon rider. Alys tells Sabetha, "I have the dragon's bastard in me. I can feel his fires licking at my womb." Sabetha does not kill her. Soon afterward, Aemond returns, drives the Freys out, and escapes with Alys. The event changes how we should read their relationship. It does not erase its violent beginning, but Aemond is now willing to retake the most dangerous castle in the Riverlands rather than abandon her. Pregnancy also transforms Alys from witness into claimant. Aemond is acting as Prince Regent for his wounded brother Aegon II. If the Green Royal line collapses, a son carrying Aemond's blood could become politically valuable, even if illegitimate. If Alys can later prove a marriage, the child becomes much more dangerous. Her womb is not merely carrying a baby, it is carrying a possible rival dynasty, and Alys appears to understand that before anyone else does. The final confrontation begins when Daemon returns to Harrenhal and openly challenges Aemond. For 13 days, Daemon waits beside Caraxes, cutting one mark into the heart tree at every sunset. On the 14th day, Vhagar appears with Aemond and with Alys. Daemon asks how Aemond found him. Aemond proudly credits his lady's visions. This is the clearest confirmed example of Alys using supernatural knowledge to alter the war. She does not merely predict a private death. She places the two most dangerous Targaryen princes in the same sky at the same time, removing both from the dance. Before taking flight, Aemond kisses the pregnant Alys. She remains at Harrenhal and watches from Kingspire Tower as Vhagar and Caraxes lock together above the God's Eye. Daemon leaps between the dragons and drives Dark Sister through Aemond's sapphire eye. Both dragons fall into the lake. Caraxes crawls to shore and dies beneath Harrenhal's walls. Did Alys send Aemond knowingly to his death? The text never says. She may have warned him and failed to stop him. She may have understood that his death was necessary for her child's claim, or she may have seen only where Daemon waited, not the result. That uncertainty is the core of Alys Rivers. Her visions are real enough to move armies, but her purpose remains invisible. The dance ends, but Alys does not. Larys Strong is executed during the Hour of the Wolf in 131 AC, and the crown treats House Strong as extinct. Yet 1 year later, broken men, outlaws and robber knights are gathering at Harrenhal under a figure the realm calls a sorceress witch queen. That queen is Alys. Tyland Lannister, serving as hand to the young Aegon III, sends Sir Regis Groves of the Kingsguard and Sir Daemon Darry with 100 men to recover the castle. Alys meets them with a small boy. She now claims that Aemond married her before his death, making her his widow and their son Trueborn. Then she identifies the child as the rightful king. This is not an empty boast. Aegon III rules through the Black Line, but the realm has just spent years killing itself over whether Rhaenyra's claim was lawful. A true-born son of Aemond would inherit the Green argument after Aegon II and his sons were dead. Alys is turning the enemy's own succession logic against the peace. Her followers also show that she influences the land and its politics directly. Harrenhal becomes a refuge for people produced by the war. Deserters, dispossessed fighters, and predators. Alys gives that chaos a court, a claimant, and a cause. She is building a rival kingship in the centre of the realm. Regis Groves refuses to kneel to Alys's child and insults both mother and son. Alys answers with only 4 words: "Kneel before your king," then Regis dies. One account says his skull bursts apart through sorcery, another says a concealed crossbowman or slinger killed him. That second explanation sounds reasonable, until Alys's riders overwhelm the royal column and only 32 men return to Castle Darry. The next day, she sends one captive back. He says the other prisoners were tortured to death. He warns that anyone approaching Harrenhal without submitting will die, claims Alys placed a curse upon him, and insists that a dragon is inside the castle. The curse has a specific condition. He will die if anyone laughs at his story. Someone laughs. The messenger chokes to death within moments, and witnesses claim that the marks of a woman's fingers appeared on his throat. Fire and Blood again offers skepticism, but skepticism is not an explanation. Hidden missiles could kill Regis. Fear could make soldiers imagine a dragon. Neither easily accounts for a public death triggered exactly as threatened. Tylan takes the report seriously. Unwin Peak dismisses it. The regents plan a larger expedition. Then winter fever reaches King's Landing in 133 AC, and the campaign is abandoned. Disease, politics, and disbelief give Alys time, and history never records how that time ends. House of the Dragon takes the gaps in that history and makes Alys an active architect. In Season 2, she is Harrenhal's healer, apparently visible to ordinary people but able to appear without warning. She gives Daemon a potion, invades or guides his dreams, forces him through memories of Rhaenyra, Laena, Viserys and his mother, and warns that he will die at Harrenhal. Her political intervention is equally important. After Daemon fails to unite the Riverlords, Alys travels to the dying Grover Tully as a healer. Grover dies, his grandson Oscar succeeds him, and Daemon gets the army he needs. The show never shows Alys killing Grover, but the implication is unmistakable. She later leads Daemon to the Heart Tree, where he sees the three-eyed raven, the dead dragons, the White Walkers, Daenerys, and Rhaenyra on the throne. Season 3 makes her agenda more concrete. She tricks the dragon seeds into abandoning Harrenhal's defence, asks Daemon to give her the castle, then receives the wounded Aemond after he massacres the remaining Strongs. As of episode 6, she reveals 5 ancient eggs left by Dreamfire, awakens one with blood, and proposes that Aemond rule beside her while she becomes the Lady of the Water. None of the eggs, Daemon visions, or that title comes from Fire and Blood, but they connect the book's unresolved dragon report directly to Alys's control of Harrenhal. So what was the dragon inside Harrenhal? In the books, it could be a hatchling meant for Aemond's son. It could be a glamour laid over the dying body of Caraxes. Less likely candidates include a surviving wild dragon such as the cannibal or sheep stealer, whose own movements after the dance are uncertain. The show has created a cleaner answer. Alys possesses Dreamfire's eggs and has already awakened one with blood. Then the record simply breaks. The royal expedition never returns. Alys, her son, her followers, and her alleged dragon vanish from the surviving history. In 151 AC, Aegon III gives Harrenhal to Lucas Lothston on the official reasoning that House Strong died out during the dance. That tells us the crown eventually removed or disregarded Alys, but not whether she was defeated, negotiated with, escaped, or survived under another name. One famous possibility makes her son an ancestor of House Went, later rulers of Harrenhal. Because Catelyn Stark's mother was Manisa Went, that would place Aemond and Alys's blood in the Stark children. It is a brilliant connection, but there is no canonical genealogy proving it. The safest conclusion is still extraordinary. Alys Rivers survived 2 occupations, redirected a dragon rider through prophecy, watched 2 princes die, created a rival royal court, defeated a force sent by the Iron Throne, and demonstrated a curse in front of witnesses. Whether she served the old gods, the Isle of Faces herself, or something sleeping beneath Harrenhal, the Witch Queen did not merely predict history. She forced history to move around her, and then erased her own ending. If you're interested in The Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, click one of the links on the screen to dive deeper into the lore. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.